I'm in a pickle. Not literally, but figuratively. And that's because I have 1 day left before I leave my aunt's home for the next 2.5 weeks while I enjoy the best mac and cheese I've ever had. While I go away on vacation. If they don't have enough water, they will be goners. So, I made it my mission to create these ant farms so they have more space to thrive, collect food, and most importantly, survive the next 2.5 weeks with as much water as they can have. And at the end, I'll be revealing the colony that will get an even better home than the rest. Let's get started. But before we begin, our friends over at APEXEL are launching new products and a giveaway called Pocket Your Journey. And the best part is, these products are all usable on your smartphone to enhance your videography and photography. With their Video Rig 2 series, you can mount various lenses, filters, and fill lights. In this giveaway, $1,000 cash is available for one winner, 3 sets of mobile video/photo kits worth $300, some lenses, and more than 10 prizes and shopping coupons worth a total of $10,000. If you've always wanted to start taking macro photos and videos, now's your chance. It begins from 8 a.m. EST on November 11th to November 17th. If you're interested, check the link in the description. And with that said, let's continue. I'm using containers from Hammond to make these. They're the perfect size to keep the ants' test tubes in. I already made one setup off camera for my odorous house ants. They're said to smell like rotten coconuts if squished, and I haven't squished one yet and I plan to keep it that way. Cause you know, these guys are my pets. For now, let's relocate them so I can use this container for another colony. All I need is a substrate and the setup is near complete. But for a few of the setups, I want to do something similar to their habitat in the wild. We'll get to that later. After moving and giving them a welcoming gift, it was time to make sure they can't escape with a fluon barrier. But hold on, what's this? Brothalomew didn't make it into the other setup? We have to save him.
Actually, all ants are girls except for the drone.
Not right now, Ender. We have to save him. Phew, close call. Another day, another worker saved. Now, these next ants are pretty special, and it will be my first time keeping them. They are honeypot ants, a species of ants that have a special caste called repletes. These kinds of workers blow up like a balloon, and they act as living fridges. Workers will go up to these repletes, and they'll feed each other via trophallaxis. Thanks to Buckeye Myrmecology, I was finally able to get the opportunity to keep these ants. Unfortunately, I heard honeypot queens are prone to dying randomly, so I got more colonies just to be safe. Once I start feeding this colony more honey, we should start seeing the repletes though. I'll have to relocate them into a formicarium when that time comes, or else moving them will be a big hassle. You see, once a worker becomes a replete, they literally just hang from the ceiling for the rest of their life. So if I have a lot of repletes in the test tubes, we're going to have a problem. Okay, we have a problem. It looks like this colony got repletes sooner than expected. I need to remove this liquid feeder now so they won't show up as quickly anymore. Once I can get them into a smaller test tube, I can relocate them into a proper formicarium. At least the colony is growing pretty fast now, so hopefully they'll choose to move out once the next generations hatch. And do I have some grand ideas for them when the time is ready? I'll save that for the end of the video since I have exciting news you don't want to miss out on. But where were we? That's right. We still have to make a setup for at least 7 more colonies. So far we've only made a plain desert setup, so let's spice it up a little and add more structure this time. The ants I will be moving into here are usually found in forests with hardwood, pine, and oak trees. So I'm mixing sand, orchid bark, sphagnum moss, coconut chips, and eco earth into the substrate. Honestly, I put way too much, but most of these are temporary setups. That is, until the colony moves into a smaller test tube. Who knows how long that will last, but I'm guessing at least a couple months to maybe a year. And after the barrier, these winter ants, carpenter ants, and velvety tree ants are set up for their new home. After a week of living in here, each one has taken a different approach. The velvety tree ants just started exploding in numbers and are super active. I'm guessing I'll be moving this colony out first. The carpenter ants went on the defensive and piled up a huge wall. This was probably made in a couple days. And the winter ants did absolutely nothing. Their original test tubes are finally running out of water, so it's only a matter of time before I can potentially move them into something else. So all I have to do is add some more test tubes, and they'll move in on their own. maybe they can be moved into these dune-filled outworlds from the Ender Ants shop. On second thought, they're technically already in an outworld kind of setup, so I should move them into a formicarium once they're in stock. But aside from ant nests, there's also t-shirts, stickers, and a lot more for the grand opening of our store. Like I said, I'm still in the process of making formicariums, and so much more I'm holding off on sharing, so expect some cool stuff these upcoming months by signing up for my email list. Also, all of my outworlds are on sale at the moment, so get them while you can. I'll be keeping these next setups fairly simple. And when I mean simple, I mean really simple. I'm just putting a thin layer of sand as a substrate. The ants that we'll be moving into here are of course desert ants, long-legged harvester ants, acrobat ants, field ants, and the infamous fire ants. I thought keeping them in bigger test tubes would be enough by the time I left home, but they're already running out. Can't risk anything. Aside from crickets, I've also recently acquired these dried water flies. I wonder if they'll eat them. As for the harvester ants, they have a different diet. You see, harvesters feed their young a variety of seeds. In this case, I have quinoa, sesame, chia, and dandelion seeds, along with crushed almonds and peanuts. I hear that these ants grow pretty fast, but she only has one worker. With all this food being given to them, hopefully that will change in a few months. The rest of the colonies though are doing pretty well, especially the fire ants. It's not a surprise to see them with a test tube full of eggs over the next few weeks of them being in here. I'm keeping them in a smaller setup since I plan to move them into a formicarium or nest of some sort. Let me know what you think. I just know they'll outgrow this very fast, so I might move them into something huge so I won't have to worry about moving them again. We'll see where they're at in a month from now. Now for the daily shoutouts to our supporters, Mr. NoFans and SansC30. You guys made it once again. Congratulations and thank you again for being the best supporters ever. If you want to be cool like these two and receive special perks and additional content, you can on my Patreon or by joining on my YouTube channel page. And with that said, let's continue on with the video. I'm happy to say all of the colonies survived while I was away. Of these colonies that have grown significantly were my honeypots. In the beginning of the video, both colonies only had a couple workers. Now, they're reaching 20. You can already see a tiny one near the queen. This one is replacing the previous one that already passed on. I want to move them into a proper formicarium so the repletes can hang, but until then, they'll be in here. In other news, the 2 queen colony is also growing fairly strong. Most of their growth can be attuned to their consistent diet of crickets, bloodworms, and dried fish food that seemingly keeps them healthy and active. Although they haven't moved out of their current home, I'm sure they will in no time as their test tube continues to fill up. So the honeypots were cool, right? They're growing pretty fast, getting repletes, nice. The field ants on the other hand, wow, they're growing quick too. I would say there's about 20 workers also, which is a lot more than I was expecting. As you can tell by their brood pile, they still have a lot of cocoons and eggs. I also gave them this cricket, but I can't tell if they ate it. Hey, that rhymed. I know they'll be the first ones to move out by the next season. Moving on to the next colony are my velvety tree ants. I gave them a liquid feeder for constant honey, and they seem to enjoy bloodworms. But I also give them some crickets. Just look at the amount of rice now. I was not expecting this many eggs. They also started barricading the front entrance, but that's not gonna stop me from moving them out. This colony will definitely have to be moved in the future. I'm guessing once those eggs hatch, I'll probably move them into a formicarium. I'm really excited to see where these ants go, because so far they're really fast growing and very active. But the real heavy hitters of the bunch are the fire ants. These ants take the cake of being the fastest growing ant colony in my room. For the first few weeks they were growing pretty steadily and the queen just kept on laying eggs. By mid-September they were going crazy. Just look at all these workers, this is probably about 50 or 60. This is when I gave them another test tube for the water and it already ran out. The workers began piling up the sand on the water, which they were then able to barricade their own test tube. As they continued to grow, I gave them some fish food, and they consistently brought this into their nest. They absolutely love this. Then, by late September, the colony was fully filled up. I already lost count of how many workers are in here. At the moment, I want to move them out, but I'm not sure where exactly I want to put them. So this is where you guys come in. Do you want me to put them in their own ant tank? Or should I continue keeping them in these kinds of setups and just keep on adding test tubes? What do you think? And my recommendation for you right now is to check out the last video if you haven't seen it already. I'll see you there, friends.